My name is Marcus Bell, and for 12 years I believed that Camille and I had created something stable, unbreakable. Since we were 17, we had been inseparable, building a home, a family, a life, from the ground up. Our days were filled with turmoil and laughter from our children, Ari and Jonas. My work, although it wasn't glamorous as a regional supervisor, paid well and provided stability, allowing Camille to concentrate on the kids and her modest photography side gig. We had routines: Friday pizza nights, Saturday park runs, and Sunday pancakes. I honestly thought we were content. I honestly thought I was content. That conviction was shattered on a Thursday afternoon. I remember it vividly. Camille stood in the living room, arms crossed, phone in her hand like a weapon. I had just come in, smelling like sweat and mulch, worn out from a site inspection. I was ready for a shower and a hug from the kids, but her gaze locked onto mine. "We need to talk," she said, bland, inscrutable, calm, too calm. I grinned, trying to lighten the mood. "Can it wait till after I scrub off this 10-hour day?" She reached up, wiping my brow. "No," she replied. "Who is she, Marcus?" I laughed. Thought she was joking. She didn't blink. Instead, she tapped her screen and turned it toward me. She really chuckled. So far from anything real, the display lit up with text exchanges between a woman named Laya and a man named Marcus. Descriptive. Private. Intimate. "That's not me," I said immediately. "Camille, that's not me. Look at the language. I don't even talk like this." But she wasn't listening. She had another phone in her hand, half hidden behind her back, and I saw the red light blinking. She was recording me. "So you deny cheating on me?" she said, eyes narrowing. My stomach dropped. "Are you filming me with Leah Davis?" I glanced at the name. It didn't even sound familiar. I expected her to smile and say it was all a sick joke, but she didn't laugh. She nodded, like she had confirmed something to herself, then switched off the tape and walked past me. I didn't even get to pack properly before she threw me out that night. She had already called her cousin Deja to escort me. I spent 2 nights sleeping in my car, too stunned to call anyone, too angry to cry. I texted Camille, pleading with her to let me at least explain things to the kids, but she didn't respond. 2 days later, I was sleeping in a supermarket parking lot when I heard a knock on the window. A man in a suit handed me a folded document. Camille Bell had filed a restraining order. She claimed I was unstable, that she had evidence I posed a threat. I was prohibited from coming within 100 feet of the house and from speaking to her directly. My sister called me that weekend. Her voice was tight. "You cheated," she said. "What screenshots?" I asked, voice cracking. She'd seen them in the family group chat. "Marcus, they look real," I sat. "Their phone pressed to my forehead. It wasn't just Camille. Everyone believed the lie, the foundation I thought we had. It was crumbling, and I was already 2 steps behind. A week later, my supervisor called me to HR. Marcus shuffled in his seat, avoiding eye contact. "I know it's personal," he said, "but some board members are concerned about domestic issues. I'm gonna have to let you go. Temporarily. Temporarily. It's not personal. We just can't take chances." I left. Tar, my best friend since middle school, offered me a cot in his garage. His wife wasn't comfortable with me staying in the guest room. There was no insulation, just a cot, a mini fridge, and silence. I stared at the ceiling every night, replaying everything. What did I miss? Trying to explain it all to Ari and Jonas was the hardest part. We met at a sterile family center under supervision. A caseworker watched us like we might break or throw Legos. Ari barely looked at me. Jonas clutched his Game Boy. "Daddy didn't do what people are saying," I told them, hands shaking. "I love you." "Why don't you live with us anymore?" Ari asked, barely above a whisper. And I I didn't have an answer that made any sense to an 11-year-old. When the visit ended, a social worker led them away. I watched my own children walk out like strangers. That's when it really hit me. Camille hadn't just lied. She stole the life we created together and ensured I'd never be able to reach it again. 12 years of calm mornings, coffee, bedtime stories, inside jokes, gone. Tossed away like garbage. But to me, they were everything. I used to think the truth protected you, if you were honest and hardworking. But I let her write the ending. The truth? It means nothing in court. What matters is who cries first. Who paints the most tragic picture? Who builds the most convincing illusion? Camille wasn't my wife anymore. She was a strategist with a plan. And when I got the court summons for full-day custody, I knew she was aiming for the jugular, but I didn't think she'd go that far, not Camille. Not the woman who once left notes in my lunchbox, not the woman who used to cry when Jonas scraped his knee. Maybe it was just a tactic, I thought. But I was wrong. She claimed I emotionally abused the kids, that I isolated myself in the garage, that I used harsh language, that the kids were scared to speak up. She accused me of having a gambling addiction, blamed our finances on me, and even dragged in Rosa Mendez, our nosy neighbor, as a witness. Rosa, the same woman who left passive-aggressive notes about our yard, who once reported us to the HOA for putting the bins out too early. She'd always hated me. Naturally, she supported Camille. I laughed out loud reading her claim that I brought random women into the house, but in court, that laugh made me look unstable. The hearing was short and brutal. Camille sat beside her lawyer, Silas Vaughn. He smirked like he was auditioning for a courtroom drama. An emotionally unstable father, he said, could endanger the children's well-being. I couldn't even defend myself. I had to sit there while a stranger rewrote my life. In front of a judge who barely looked up, Camille cried on cue. She wore modest clothes and used my name like we were still friends. He used to be a good father, Your Honor. But something changed. They presented fake spreadsheets, screenshots from gambling sites. I tried to explain, but my court-appointed lawyer placed a hand on my arm. Let it go. For now. Let it go? I lost everything that day. The judge gave Camille full temporary custody. She kept the house. I was banned from contact, except through lawyers. A few weeks later, I got a cold email from HR. No meeting. No call. Just, in light of recent legal developments, we are terminating your employment, effective immediately. I knew Camille didn't send it directly. She didn't have to. Someone did her work for her. I stood outside Tar's house, staring at the email like it was in another language. 12 years of my life, gone. I went inside, shut the garage door, sat on the cot, and went numb. Tar handed me a beer. You want to talk about it? No, I said. Talking won't help. He nodded. Didn't say anything else. Just sat beside me in the quiet. For the first time, I let the silence grow without trying to kill it. But it was hard not to feel like a ghost. I had been erased. From my home, from my job, from my children's lives. I scrolled through old photos, me holding Ari's hand at the zoo, Jonas asleep on my chest, Camille dancing to Whitney, Houston in the kitchen, flour on her nose. Had all of it been fake? Had she been acting the whole time? Did I say something that broke her? Or was she always capable of this? None of it mattered now. The walls had collapsed, and I was left standing in the rubble. But somewhere inside me, a flicker, a grit in my chest that whispered, this isn't the end. She might have burned down the life we built, but I'll build another. And this time, it'll be fireproof. The caseworker was sitting close by with a clipboard. He had once adored a sketch of a Ferrari. They grinned courteously, but maintained a wary expression. Mom says you're sick. My heart cracked, Jonas muttered once. Sick. How? I inquired. I swallowed so hard it hurt. Buddy, you don't know how to love us, right? He looked down, coloring in. Ari remained silent during the remainder of my stay. I left the center that day with my fists in the air. My jaw was so tightly clamped, I gave myself a headache. Camille wasn't merely keeping them away from me. She was erasing me. I tried to fight back, scraped together enough to stop her from rewriting who I was in their thoughts. Funds for a lawyer. Well, one appointed by the court, who was late for each hearing and slowed down my case. He filed like it was unfinished homework. He even called me Michael once, in court, right in front of Camille's attorney, Silas Vaughn. That man grinned as he tore me to pieces, framing every weakness as a defect in my character. Every bureaucratic delay, he turned it into recklessness. Every emotion, manipulative. The man was a cobra, licensed to practice law. And Camille? She wore cozy sweaters, her hair done back in a way that made her look so put together. She sat in court with tears that always came right on time. Every time she described the emotional harm I had caused, the court bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. The recovery. I wanted to shout at the process she and the children were going through. But I knew that would only serve to highlight their argument, so I started treatment. Not because a judge ordered me to, because I was drowning. I found a cheap clinic that offered therapy on a sliding scale. I sat across from Dr. Penner for the first time, and for 10 minutes, I just stared. I clenched my jaw, then finally spoke. It wasn't eloquent. I'm not sure who I am. There was a withering plant on the windowsill.